So I'm gonna do something a little bit different. So originally I had for the hand, for the death grip animation, I had the ledge grab. I had like the animation for the actual grabbing, and then the state where the ledge is grabbed. I decided that I'm not going to do the ledge because the ledge can be like any ledge. Instead, I'm going to do I'm going to make it so that it has to grab a specific object. So when you play games like Darksiders 2 or like a Batman like Arkham Origins or whatever, usually you can't just grapple, I don't think, just any ledge or any object, that there's specific objects that you can grapple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create, just as a placeholder, I'm going to create a sphere. And by default, this sphere is 2 by 2, but I'm going to make it 1 by 1. I'm going to move it up. No, actually, I'm going to move it down by minus 0.5, and I'm going to set the origin to, actually this could be a lot smaller. I'm going to make it 0.25. So it's I'm going to move this up. So this is going to be half a unit in height, in basically in all axes, it's going to be half a unit in size in terms of the diameter. And I'm going to keep it so that the origin of it is at the very top. The reason why I'm doing this is because if the origin of this object is here, then that's I want the origin of the character is at its feet, so it's easier to snap. Like when he grapples this object and he flies towards it, I'm just going to place him directly on top of the object. So if I make his position equal to the position of the sphere, then he's going to land right on top. And this transform position happens to also be the transform position of the hand. So I just have to remember that the size of this is 0.5 by 0.5 by 0.5. Okay, so all I have to do now is go into the animation tab, and because the transform of this hand, this death grip hand, is right here, I want to go into edit mode, and instead of changing the position of the overall hand, I'm just going to position the bones. So that way the position of the hand doesn't change, it's just the joints just move around. So for this one, oh, I have to make sure I'm in pose mode, not edit mode. So in pose mode, I'll start off by placing his hand there. just basically rotate all these together initially. Just to make it more visually interesting. I'll spread his fingers out. So that looks pretty good. So basically, the grappleable object is going to be generally spherical in shape, and it's going to be. I'm going to make it like an architectural element, almost like an architectural ornament or something. Um, if you play Darksiders 2, like it's literally just like this one purple object that looks like it's not even like an ornamental object. It's more like a metal ring that's sticking out of the wall, and that's basically the same thing that's used throughout the entire game. So I think that's a really simple way to implement something like this in a game, instead of like making the character able to grapple anything that he sees. That'd be very, very tricky because like a ledge is different from a building corner to like an ornament to any like object sticking out of a wall. So it all involves different coding, and you would need to like find a way to like make the character recognize all the different like objects within a building, which could be like really complicated. So it's just simpler just to make like one grappleable object, I think. So that's what I'm going to do instead of doing a ledge. So I'm going to insert a keyframe. There's going to be an animation, so 30 frames. Another keyframe after 30. Okay, so I'm just going to export this. This will be a death grab. So I have grabbing, ledge grab idle. I'll just call this ornament. Ornament grab idle. Before I had the ledge grabbed idle, but this one's going to be an ornament, so call ornament grab idle, export that, make sure to save the Blender file. And I'm just going to dump these into the Unity folder. Oops. Gotta go into Unity and make sure with the death grip animation selected. I guess I can't do these all at the same time. I have to do them one by one. I'm going to grab these. These are all idle, so I'm going to check on loop time and press apply. Do that for the other two. And I also have one for the character, which would be, I think, this one. Yeah, death grip shoot idle. That's also an idle. So in the animator, I'm going to create, I'm going to right click, create state for a new blend tree, and this one's going to be called Grappling. And this one's actually going to have two. Actually, no, this is just going to be one motion field, and I'm looking for grappling. Death grip idle. Transition. Oops. Transition there. Transition back. And these are going to be enabled by a boolean is grappling. So if is grappling is true, I'm going to turn off has exit time. Is grappling is true, but if it's false, then it's going to shoot back. And is grappling has to be false in order for it to go back to the regular blend tree. And I also have to create an animator for the hand. So create this will be called death grip animator. Okay. I'm going to create new blend tree, and the blend, it's going to have two motion fields. The first one is just going to be the grabbing. So if I pull this up, he's grabbing, and then for the second one, it's going to be ornament grab. So this is when this thing is coming out, when it's firing forward from the player, and then when it grabs the spherical ornament, then it's in this position, like this. Okay, so here I need to create, with a death grip default pose, just to be clear, it's parented to the main character because it's coming from the main character, but this needs its own animator, and I forgot to, the models, I'm going to select the death grip, I'm going to go to rig, and oops, avatar definition, create from this model, apply, and select the death grip again. And the animation controller is the death grip animator. Okay. I've created a script called death grip. So I have that opened up. Maybe I didn't open it up. I should open it up. And make sure that I drag and drop it onto the death grip object. And I've also created a sphere object. This also, basically, it's an empty object called, I named it ornament, and I put a sphere geometry that's parented to the ornament. And this sphere is just a placeholder mesh. I'll probably like give it a texture and like have it so that it attaches to a wall a certain way. And it'll be like a spherical shape. But I haven't really designed it yet. It's just going to be a placeholder. I also need to drag and drop the ornament script onto the ornament. So I can move this all the way anywhere I want. I just have to make sure that the pivot, even though this is the sphere, the center of the sphere is here, the pivot of the ornament is going to be at the top, because if the player grapples onto this and moves towards it, he's gonna land on top because his pivot is at his feet. So if his position is equal to the position of the ornament, he's going to wind up on top of the object. So I'll just move this out into the world somewhere. It can be anywhere. Just put it out here. I'll go into the prefab and I'll hide the death grip for a second. And I'm going to go into my ornament script, because this is where it's going to calculate whether or not the player can grapple. So first thing is so I need a public game object player. I'm also going to do public. Actually, I don't need to make it public. I'll just call it a main character called player main script. So object type, main character script, using main character script. Okay, so I need to do using main character script. That way I can create a main character script of type main character, and what this basically means is it's referencing this. So now what I have to do here is main character script equals player dot get component main character. So first, actually, I should need to go back. This ornament, I'm going to set it back to 0. And I'm going to create a prefab out of it first. So in the prefabs folder, I'm going to drag and drop into the folder, and automatically it goes blue, which means it's a prefab. And I'm going to drag a reference of the character into here. There we go. So now it's referencing this player, and it's grabbing the main character script from the player. So now I need to calculate two things. Just put this backward into the world again first. So what I want to do is I need to find a way to calculate the player's forward vector, the vector in which he's facing at any moment, as well as the vector between him and this ornament. And I need to calculate those two vectors, the angle. So I think this is how, I'm not sure if this is going to work, but I'll try. Vector 3 player 2 ornament vector, vector 3 player forward vector. So in the update function, player 2 ornament, oh actually I'll do forward vector equals player forward. There's a transform dot. Okay, apparently that's correct. So I think to get the vector from the player to the ornament, I have to do player to ornament vector equals player transform position plus transform position of the ornament. I think, I'm not 100% sure yet. I need to create a float called angle, and the angle is between player, player forward vector and player to ornament vector. I think this should work. First I need to go into the main character. I need to create a variable called public bool can Grapple. I'm also going to do a public game object called death grip. The boolean I'll set to false by default. In the update method, or sorry, in the update, we're going to create a method called let's call it Grapple. And at the very bottom of the script, I'll create public void Grapple. So let's just say if angle is smaller or equal to 20, I should also do distance too. Distance to player. Let's copy and paste from another script that I made. So if distance to player angle is smaller or equal to 45, and distance to player smaller or equal to this is the main character here. Let's just say 10. Then I'm basically going to set the value of this new variable can grapple. So then the main character script can grapple equals true. Else if angle is greater than 45 or distance to player is greater than 10, this variable is set to false. I'll make this distance a little bit bigger. Instead of 10, we'll use 20. And the main character, if can grapple equals true, death grip dot set active is true. This is just temporary, just to see if this is working. Else, can grapple is false. The death grip is false. So I don't know if this is going to work. To make sure I'm going to open up the prefab of the main character. And in this script, I need to drag and drop the death grip object. So now if I hit play, initially I see nothing. There we go. So I'm within a certain distance, and he's facing the death grip, and the death grip appears. So this is working. This is perfect. Okay. I'm gonna change one little thing. I'm gonna make it so that instead of measuring the angle between, from the player, I'm going to measure the angle from the camera. So we'll do public game object cam, and we'll copy and paste these. Cam to ornament vector, and cam to cam forward vector. So underneath here I'll do cam forward vector equals cam dot transform dot forward, and cam to ornament vector equals cam dot transform dot position plus the transform dot position of this ornament. So therefore the angle, instead of, will be between, not the player forward vector, from the cam forward vector and the cam to ornament vector. Oops. So if I compile that, I'm going to select the ornament. I'm going to dump the camera into this field, cam, and see if this works. So if I walk towards and rotate the camera, so the camera forward into the screen, that angle has to be smaller than 45. And also if he walks away, so as long as the camera is within that range and the player is within a certain distance, then this appears, so that works. So the main character, I don't need this anymore because this is just a test to, I was just using the death grip visibility as a test to see if this works. So it does work. So the K and grapple boolean is being set. So the next thing that I want to do is let me think. I'll make two more. Actually, I'm going to do it like this. So back in the main character prefab, I'm going to create an empty object. Death grip start position. And it's going to be the same as actual death grip position. So for the death grip script, I'm going to create public game object death grip start position. So here, select the death grip, and in the script, I'm going to drag and drop the start position here. So if can grapple copy and paste some stuff. The ornament, I'm using the main character script. Main character script equals this player get component. Okay, so from here, if the left mouse button is pressed, if the left mouse button is pressed and main character script dot can grapple equals true, meaning if in the character script if this can grapple is set to true, then I have to set the animator. Animator start function animator equals get component animator. If this is true, then I'm going to move towards I need to create a namespace for this ornament. Namespace ornament script. Oops. Make sure I do squiggly brackets for the whole thing. Using ornament script. Actually, no, I don't want to do that. Instead, I'm going to do it the other way around. I'm going to create for a second. In the main character script, I'm going to create public game object, and I'm going to call it ornament. So we don't know which ornament is set at any given moment, so it's going to be set if angle is smaller or equal to 45 and distance to player is smaller or equal to 20, then the main character script this ornament itself. Ornaments equals this. Oh, that doesn't work either. What if I were to do game object here? Okay, so I can get rid of this. Oops, wrong one. This is true. Game object. And if angle is greater than 45 or distance is to player is greater than 20, then maybe this can be null. Okay, I think that's going to work. So ornaments. So using ornament script, I can just use so the ornament is setting the value of this ornament in main character. So from the main character script, I can say transform position goes from transform position of this death grip to the main character script dot ornaments dot transform dot position. I don't know how fast. I should say 50. Else if the button is up, it's not being pressed, or main character script can grapple is false, then the position of this is going to go towards the death grip start position. Oops. Another thing that needs to happen is this is true. The death grip. Main character script dot death grip set active equals true. Wait, did I do that right? Oh no, so it's gonna be like that. Otherwise, it's set to false. Okay. Now, I'll go back in here. Missing, I need to jump into the player. So I have to be a certain distance, so I would just say I'm here, press the button, nothing happens. I probably missed something. Ornament, main character. I need to dump the ornament in, but actually I don't need to dump it. It's totally not working. This ornament does not need to be set. It's not working. It's very, very simple. Basically, the death grip is by default deactivated, so therefore the script isn't running at all. So therefore, another thing that doesn't work is this main character script. I'm trying to toggle this thing from the main character script, just kind of stupid. Let me see. I need to turn this on. It's the body that I need to toggle on or off. So I'm going to get rid of this. And create a public game object geo. So it's the geo where the that needs to be toggled. Oops. So I'm going to compile that. So in the script, I'm going to drag and drop the geometry, but by default it's going to be deactivated, which is fine because the script is on this object here. So if I play now, well, it goes really, really fast. Maybe that's way too fast. I'll make it speed 1, just to see. Press the button. Why is it not moving? It's appearing, but it's not moving. Transform position equals vector 3 move towards. Transform position, main character script ornament, transform position. So this set active is working, but it's not moving. It must not be recognizing this, so I need to find a different way to identify the ornament, because right now I have it grabbing the ornament from the main character script, but the ornament is setting itself from the ornament script here. So it must be this thing that's not working. Let me try this once more. If I play. It's being turned on, but it's not moving. Got it sort of working. So instead of making all the stuff happen under here, instead I said I created a boolean called can move towards ornament, and these are set true if the button is pressed and the can grapple is true in the main character script. The reason why this wasn't like happening is because like this move towards function it doesn't continually trigger when the button is pressed down, even if it's in the update. So the only thing that I can do is set the boolean to true, and then as long as that's true, then this constantly fires. The one thing that I'm going to cancel out is this, because I don't want this boolean to be set false here. I want it to be set false after the character has moved on top, like moved towards the ornament and landed on top. So another thing that I need to do is in the animator, if I need to create a distance, create a float called distance to ornament. And distance to ornament is going to be the distance from itself to the distance to main character script. Okay, so if distance to ornament, if distance to ornament is smaller or equal to, let's say, 0.1. So if it's really close to the ornament, else if distance to ornaments is greater than 0.1, then in the animator set this is a float, so set float blend to 1, which is by default 0. That's why the hand is open, but once it gets close to the ornament, it closes. If it's greater than 0.1, then it's going to set back to 0. So I'm going to set this, I'm going to make this functional just for a second, just so I can try it out multiple times. so if I hit play, over here, if I press the button, why is it not happening? It's not working all of a sudden. What did I do? Okay, so it's actually working now. It was only because this line of script and this script was reversed. So this distance to ornament, when it was being set up here, I was blocking this here for some reason. But it's all working now. But I blocked this out so that this can move towards ornament boolean. It's going to be set false elsewhere. And also, if I play now, it works, but it sort of flickers. So if I play, you'll see what I mean in terms of the flickering. Like it'll go back and forth from the two animation states. So if I get close enough and I'm staring roughly in the right same direction, I press the button once, it appears and goes to location, but the animation flickers. So the way to fix that is basically to get rid of this, because the animator.setFloat, it's being set to 0 whenever it's greater than 0.1, but because it's constantly moving to that position, the ornament position, is bouncing back and forth, so it triggers these two animation states. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this. Once it sets to 1, it's going to stay locked in, and I'm going to set it back to 0 somewhere else in the code as opposed to doing it now. So that way, if I press play, if I get close enough, I press the button, then it moves, and then the animation doesn't like flicker. Like the position is like flickering, but that's okay for now. I'll just leave it. The next thing that I want to do is in the main character, I want to create a boolean called can boolean can move to ornaments. this is going to be set to the death grip, so when the distance to the ornament is smaller or equal to 0.1, then main character script can move to ornaments. It's going to be set to true. I need to set this to false by default, and I need to make it public. And here it's going to be set to true. And once that's true, then if can move to ornament equals true, then I am going to use the move to function transform dot position vector 3 move towards transform position the ornament position, and I want to slow it down to like 10. I should also create a distance to ornaments. Distance floats distance to ornaments, and I'm going to use the exact same thing as this. We'll stick it right in the grapple method since it's being triggered by the update constantly. So distance to ornament is the ornament position, character position. So can move to ornament is true. And if distance to ornament is greater than, let's say 0.1 for now. So if I go play, okay, if you move towards I think there must be the gravity's playing a role here. So if gravity's pulling me down, so I need to go to my vertical don't jump off ground. It's false, so this deactivates the gravity. And I should also create another boom. That's called is shooting grapple, and this is going to be set in here. So if the button is pressed, then main character script dot is shooting grapple is true. Equals true. Needs to be public. By default, it's false. Shooting grapple. Why is this not working? Oh, I've got 3 O's. That's why. Okay. Is shooting grapple is true, but if the distance between the depth grip and the ornament is smaller than 0.1, then this is going to be set to false. So back in the grapple method, if is shooting grapple equals true, else if is shooting grapple equals false, then animator dot bool is grappling. Is true, otherwise it's false. And this has to be set bool, not get bool. Set and set. Okay, so if I go play now, hopefully this works. There we go. right off. But I can only do it once. I'll try that once more. So he shoots the grapple, and he moves to it. And as soon as that happens, that grapple should disappear. How do I know when? Okay, so I need to create another boolean called is. Actually, I'm not going to create a boolean. Instead, I'm going to use this distance to ornament. So if main character script dot distance to ornament smaller or equal to 0.1, make this public. Then I can set this here, can move towards ornament. I set the false, and once that's false, then the ornament goes back to its original position. It's set to invisible, and the animator set bool set back to 0. So if I compile that, so I'll press play. So I'm going to walk over, press the button, shoot, go to position, and then it disappears. And if I leave, I guess I can't do it again, so I should be able to do it again. Okay, move towards ornament. Why is it not? Let me try that once more. I forgot to, the main character, once, when he's moving towards the thing, he's can jump off ground, set to false. So he can jump off ground. Can jump off ground. Where are you? Got a lot of variables here. Oh, here we go. This has to be public. Can jump off ground equals true. So let me try this again. So if I hit play, works there. And if oh, it keeps on moving. But I can't do it again. Okay, I think this is good enough for now. I'll figure out how to make it trigger again. But there's also a bunch of other finessing that I can do. Right now, I could add like trail effects to the death grip or whatever. And yeah, there's quite a few things I need to tweak. But I think this calls for a part 3. I'm not going to fit everything into part 2. It's already getting way too long, so hopefully you enjoyed that. And please be on the lookout for the next video. Okay, thanks.